Now that I don't have my office anymore, I record these at my mom's house, and I'm in her office. And she has hanging up on the wall. I don't even know what you'd call them. For my bar mitzvah, my aunt and her, they took pictures of my childhood and my brother's for his, and made not a centerpiece, but I'm almost positive it was hanging up or at the front of like the party, because if you didn't know, bar mitzvah is the day that us Jews we take our 13-year-olds and we tell them all of our secrets to run the world. It's a very important day, and we get to have a party because now we can run the world. And I'm just looking at mine, thinking about how I run the world now. And there's a picture of my brother and I'm wearing this Abercrombie and Fitch shirt. Now, I wasn't as fat as I got, obviously. I wasn't like a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 300-pound kid, thank God. But I was chunky, and I felt I was insecure, and I wanted to be cool. And so I got this Abercrombie and Fitch shirt, and I remember I hated it because the words Abercrombie, I think it was just Abercrombie. I have terrible eyes. It's like 10 feet from me, and I can't see what was written on the shirt. I'm almost positive it just said Abercrombie. And it was stitched on. And the stitching would tear me. I don't know if you can see. I'm wearing a shirt from The Office. It was like when Andy did the 5K in The Office and his nipples got chafed. My entire chest would be on fire from wearing this shirt. And I would wear it occasionally because back when I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s, Abercrombie and Fitch to me was like the cool kid store. And I remember going and buying it, and at the Natick Mall, and I thought it would, I don't know if it thought it would make me cool or make me fit in. I don't know what I thought. But I'm just looking at it because I was trying to figure out how to talk about what I wanted to talk about today, and it's about being happy. It's a weird topic. I think it's very weird. I'm both very happy, and then I can also be a kind of a blue kind of like a negative kind of person. But I was just thinking about it, like even going back to that shirt. I've always wanted to fit in. I always wanted people to like me, and I wanted to be just like happier, I guess. And I had a very happy childhood, but right around that age, probably right around like late elementary school, early middle school, it's when you start to figure out like, oh, like maybe I'm not the best athlete, maybe I'm not that great looking, the girls don't, and who knows, like if I had more confidence, the girls might have some more girls might have liked me. I had no confidence back then. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the Abercrombie shirt and my nipples. But I remember, so ever since from high school, I went to Emerson College. And no, that's not true. From high school, I went and did a semester in Israel. And then I went to Emerson College. And then I moved to LA. And at each stop, I was happy for a bit. And then something changed and ruined it. Like Israel I liked, but then I was 18 and lonely and just wasn't great at making friends, and I got kicked out of when you're in Israel, they have a class called Ulpan, which is where you learn to speak Hebrew, and our teacher was terrible, and I'll tell you, like, literally, who knows, I might have been a pain in the ass. The final straw was I got kicked out one day because I knocked over a cup of hot chocolate, and I just lost it. I was like, fine, well, I'm done. And I just didn't go to Ulpan anymore. obviously don't speak Hebrew, and I didn't enjoy like the last month of my time in Israel. And then Emerson, I was so excited. For Emerson, I applied early action, which meant that I was applying before like general, like everyone else applied. And I got deferred to that, and then I got deferred again to going in January, which is why I went to Israel for my first semester of college. And I went to Emerson, and sort of the same stuff. I was looking back, and my mom agrees. I should have just taken a full year and either gone to Israel, done something, and started in September with everyone else, because I already had a problem making friends. And I went in January. There was like I don't know, 15, 20 people, very small class of people starting in January. And I also grew up around here. So when I had trouble making friends at Emerson, I just hung out with friends that I had either from high school or from work, or I just was by myself a lot. I was basically a lot of my adult life I've spent alone. Not because there weren't people there, but because I was too shy or self-conscious or whatever to really make it takes me a while to warm up to people, and not even to like them, but like to feel comfortable myself, like going like not going out there, getting out there. And pretty quickly at Emerson, I wasn't happy there. I wish I had gone to a school I went to visit my best friend from high school at his college, and he went to Dickinson. And to me, that was like Animal House, like a real college experience. And I wanted to go to. I liked that Emerson was right in the middle of Boston, but it had a lot of the same people, and I just didn't connect with anyone there. I honestly don't. I keep in touch with 0 people from college. Literally 0. And I just wasn't happy there. I went and I interned out in LA the summer between my junior and senior year, and I even did online classes so I could graduate a semester early. I went to LA, and I was pretty happy in LA for the majority of it. But there were parts, like when my first job, I loved it. I loved it at the beginning. And it's sort of like when you start dating someone new. And at the beginning, everything's great. And then, you start to tell a couple months in if like, oh, yeah, I don't really like this person at all. And if you do, you stick around. If you don't, like the newness wears off. And that's I think that's a pattern in my life with a lot of things. So when the newness wore off in LA, I wasn't very happy. And then I met Joey. And the thing about that was it was a lot new, especially at the beginning. Very new. Always different. And I guess maybe towards the end things got a little bit regular, and and it's not only about like what I'm doing professionally or romantically, whatever it is, but towards the end, I've made no secret of towards the end of my time in LA wasn't happy, and it's been on my mind because for a couple reasons. Pretty much as soon as even before I came back to Massachusetts, I knew, or at least I thought I knew in my head, like, oh, this is not going to be a long-term stop. I love getting to spend time with my mom and my family, but I don't like the weather here. But I liked it in LA, and I still wasn't happy, and so that's what I'm getting to is on my Patreon, once a month, we have something called a mastermind. And it's basically what it was at the beginning, and what a lot of them, it's basically a way for a group of people to get together and either work through their own ideas or issues and then get feedback from other people, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things that I do. For January, no, not for January, for February, we did it, and it had a little bit of a different tone. Um, the first guy went, and he was talking about his podcast, which is what I was used to, and then there was like 6 people in a row that talked about mental health and how they struggle with it, and how it affects their lives. And that wasn't the plan. There was no theme to the mastermind. And the first person went, and then it just sort of not steamrolled, but picked up steam, where everyone was talking about just issues they'd had in the past. Or not even in the past, but issues they have or have had, how therapies help them. And my girlfriend and I have been talking a lot for a few months about not loving living here in Massachusetts. It's real easy to have that discussion when there's a foot of snow outside. I'm in a little bit of a different situation because I don't have a garage here. So shoveling, I don't think anyone, who knows, but I don't know if anyone actually enjoys shoveling out. But there are a lot of people who enjoy the winter, so I know I'm going to be a minority in this one. From probably middle school on, I haven't really enjoyed. Once the playing in the snow stops, that's where the fun really stopped. Once you pop, the fun does stop. I just never, the cold and the wet and the wind was never I was never a fan of it. And we've looked at a few places online. We're going to one of them in April. But my girlfriend grew up here her whole life. She's never left. Her whole family's here. And she has kids. And we've just been talking. And she's like, I do want to leave, but I'm not sure if I can, which I totally get. And she asked me, like, I don't know, is that a deal breaker for you? Like, would that affect our relationship? And I was honest, and I was like, I'd be disappointed, but I have to be honest. I feel not as much because, like, she has kids, and that would mean her grandparents wouldn't have the grandkids nearby, and a lot of her childhood friends are here, which I don't really have any childhood friends around here anymore. But even just with my mom and my aunt and uncle, I do feel guilty about the idea of leaving. And I left. Like, when I left, I left. When I went to LA, the summer between freshman and sophomore year of college, I was back for a month. And then from that moment on, from sophomore year, September of 2009, I think. Because I started... September of 2008. Yeah, September of 2008 until November of 2021. I hadn't spent more than 4 or 5 days, maybe at most a week, home here. And I graduated from college, and I left within a week to drive to LA. Yeah. I put everything. I bought a car. I put everything I owned into it, and I drove it to LA. I didn't know anybody. And it turned out mostly great overall. Overall, did turn out great. It did before COVID hit, and it looked like, who knows, like I right now I expect it to still be there. But in the last couple years in LA, when my parents would come to visit once or twice a year tops, and they came a lot. There's a lot of people I know in LA whose parents don't visit, or they have to go visit them, and it's for a little bit. But with the church, I couldn't take off more than a few days in a row because of just of a recording schedule. And towards the end, I started to be like, wow, I wonder how many more times I'll get to see my parents. Like, I wonder if it'll be twice a year for the next 5, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But that means what, 20, 30, 40 times I get to see them? And it would bum me out. And coming back and living with my mom and my dad a little bit has been great. And it's tough because in my head, living somewhere warmer would be a huge difference maker. And it would be cheaper to live in a lot of those places. If I'm being honest with myself, I'm not much of an outdoor person really anywhere. Like, something funny, we watched so many videos about these different. We have 3 places we're thinking about going. 2 in the Carolinas and 1 in Florida. And every video we watch about moving to this city or moving to that city, they talk about all the stuff you can do in the outdoors. And I would do almost none of it. Florida, the beach is a little bit different. I would enjoy it being warmer. I definitely would. I like being warm more than I like being cold. But I'm never going to be a hiker. I can't even imagine that being fun, to be honest. I mean, I get if you smoke a joint and you take a walk in the woods, that could be nice. I like taking walks. I like cities. I like taking a walk in the city. But I don't know. It's tough to like thinking about that. It's tough. It's like, so let's just even say that I would be equally happy being somewhere warmer, but then I have no family there. It's hard to choose. It really, I don't, it's, and I think a lot of people go through this. I know a lot of you guys have left your hometowns. A lot of you guys are sticking around. I know that a lot of people go through this, and I've been looking for, I don't know, 20. So yeah. Wow. So I've been looking for let's just look, going back to this bar mitzvah thing. That bar mitzvah, I was 13. Or was I 14? No, I was probably 13. I think I probably just turned 13. And I've just always been searching after, whether it's a shirt or a thing or a place like LA. It wasn't so much LA that was going to make me happy, but I was following what I thought my dream was with editing, which is still, it's, but I don't know. Everything that I thought was going to make me really happy didn't, and I'm not even sure, thinking about it. I don't know I'm wondering what like really happy is. You know, it's a weird thing because I don't think anybody is happy all the time. And I mean, I think we all know that no one's happy all the time, unless you're on drugs. Or I don't know, you play with puppies all day. But I don't know. I just don't know what the right answer is to like, if like we accept the premise like that, like, you know, we all want to be as happy as we can. Life is short. We should do what makes us happy. It's hard to really know. It like looking back on it, it's hard to know what would make you happy. And it look now thinking about it's like, do I want to leave New England? Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, very much. I don't want to live anywhere near any sort of snow. It it's yucky. I don't like it. But my family's here for some stupid. I don't know why. I guess I'm being just as stubborn, but it's frustrating that that people just, why can't they just move because I want to move and then we'd all be happy. I actually did. My friend, and it wasn't just, but my friend and her brother moved out to LA within my friend, her brother moved out like 6 months after I moved out to LA, and he stayed with me for a little bit. And then she moved out to LA like a year into me being in LA and stayed with me for a few months. It was a girl. If you ever watched and listened to the early episodes of The Church, it was the girl that was sleeping on my couch that during the very first, like, God, probably first 100 episodes. And it was because I was in LA and I was lonely. And the brother's still an actor out there. You've seen him in some commercials and stuff like that. And the sister left after like a year and a half. But it's hard because in my head I'm like, yeah, if I could go to a place like that but bring people that I like and love, then it would be perfect. But I don't know if anything is perfect. And let's just say I move. Let's just say I do move. There's no guarantee that I'll be happy there. And so I know sometimes on my podcast I try to have like a lesson that I've learned or a perspective that I've gained. I don't know. I don't know what is right. I do. It was interesting. I think I would have made a good philosopher. Just thinking about stuff, looking at stuff. It was trash day on Saturday, right after a snowstorm, and I had to push 2 trash buckets up a long driveway. I don't know how long it is. It takes a few minutes to walk up and down, even with no snow. And I had to pull it up and down with snow on the ground, and it was like looking back at it, it was interesting because I had one that I was pushing and then one that I was pulling, and I was just walking sort of in a straight line. And when I turned around at the top of the driveway, I would love to know if there's science behind this. Even though I was literally pushing and pulling them, not next to each other, but I was just pushing and pulling, and the wheel tracks, when you looked back at it, looked like someone was pulling them right next to each other. And I had this unhigh stoner thought. It's like, hey man, it doesn't matter where you are if you feel like you're behind on certain things. We all end up at the same place, and both trash cans ended up there. I swear to God, I was not on psychedelics, but it brought me a little bit of peace to see because I look at my brother's very successful. I look at other people my age, and I get I don't know if jealous is the right word. I think jealousy is probably part of it, but I also get a little bit frustrated and envious. And I don't know if me thinking about moving is a way to really be happy, or if I'm just trying to be more of a real adult and have a house down there. I don't really know. what makes you happy? I wish I knew. I would love to know, like, how you guys decide on where to live, and what makes you happy. How do you decide whether I hate stuff like that. Like, oh, should I leave a job? Should I break up with this girl? Should I buy a new car? Should All those big life decisions are tough for me. Like, my buddy, my one of my first buddies in LA was my mentor in editing, and whenever I left that job that I met him at, we stayed in touch, and every time I had a new interview, it's sort of like, I found like getting a job was sort of like dating. I'd have no responses for a while for both, and then right when I got like one job interview, I get a couple. And it felt like I usually had a couple different jobs to choose from. And I would call him every time. I'd be like, "Hey man, which job should I take? Like, this is job A, and this is the show, and this is the rate, and this is what I like about it, and this is what I don't like about it." And after a while, he's like, "Hey man, I can't make that decision for you." And it's I don't know if I do well. Depends on what level of communism I would do well. I do enjoy, like, there is a freedom in doing what other people tell you. I don't know if it takes the blame off of me, or if it or what, but I get paralyzed with those types of decisions, and I'm just kind of going through it right now. It's like, I'm really happy with the girlfriend. I'm really happy with my mom, and my aunt and uncle live out here. I The weather makes me less happy. But if I switched places and got it to a place where, like, I didn't have to shovel, and I just really didn't have to leave the house when it was cold, which is not a great way to live. When am I going to stay in the house for 4 months every year? I've done it for the majority of my life, so maybe I would. Um, but I don't know. Would me being in a warmer climate, either by myself or with my girlfriend and her kids, but we have no family around, no friends. It's just us until we make friends down there, which, if track records will show you, I am not good at. So, but just between the mastermind, and then that stupid Abercrombie and Fitch shirt, it's on my mind a lot recently, of like being happy, like that mental health thing from the mastermind, of just being happy as much as possible, I guess, because like we said, no one's gonna be happy all the time. Um, I just wish I knew. It's frustrating. It sucks not knowing the right answer. I don't do well with that. I really, I was the guy in school during a test. I would call the teacher over, and they'd get frustrated with me. I'm like, "Well, what do you mean by this question? Because it could be this or this." And they'd be like, I can't help you with this. Like, you got to make that decision. And I don't like making decisions. Even with food, I don't. My family would make fun of me as a kid, and it's still true to this day. If I go to a type of restaurant, I stick to a very limited. I'll try most things, but if I'm ordering for myself, like, Lee, get Chinese food, General Gao's chicken, and this is okay. This is non-healthy times. Not now. I'm forced to make other less delicious decisions, but it would be dumplings, maybe an egg roll, not always. General Gao's chicken, fried rice. That's Chinese food. Mexican is steak tacos and a burrito, and the burrito has to have rice, beans, sour cream, guacamole, and hot sauce. See, I got all wrapped up in the food. It's not about food, but I think it because it just all goes back to these making decisions things. I don't do well. Like with my ex, I literally like going to therapy. A lot of going to therapy was how to figure out how to break up with my ex, and it did not go well. I did a terrible job. I'm one of those people that just will stick around and hope that you'll break up with me. And I breaking up with my ex when it was like when when you hit an animal with your car. No, I've seen it in movies and TV shows where it's like you're supposed to do it one motion, and instead it's like you run, instead of just shooting the deer, you run it over with your car, and then you punch it a little bit. Like that's what it took a few days. It was just not a graceful ending to that relationship, and it all goes back to making decisions. They suck. I don't like making decisions. I would much prefer. Here's what I want. I want to give someone choices that would make me happy, and then that someone else makes that decision. Because I don't want someone totally making the decisions for me. Because if someone was like, hey, I decided you're taking a hike today, and then you're going to have kale juice and go listen to classical music, that would be a bummer. But if I could say, like, listen, I think I would be equally as happy living somewhere warm. Yeah, I guess I just want a genie. I just want to be like, hey, I'd be happy. I want to live somewhere warm and nice, but I want my family and friends around me too, and they have to come there. That's if anyone has a genie or some sort of spell, that would work really well for me. I wish that mastermind really showed me that I think a lot of people, even because here's the thing, a lot of people talk about the pandemic did this and that to our mental health. Sure, probably, but life wasn't easy before the It really wasn't. It was easier in some aspects, but life, it doesn't suck. I'm not going to say that. But I feel like I've been watching a lot of movies and TV shows with the girlfriend's kids, and there's always a happy ending, and things always seem to turn out, even though there's always a down moment in the movie. But I think, and I don't know if I blame it on that or on books or just being naive. But in my head, I think I genuinely thought or was aiming to be happy almost all the time. I mean, I guess I was aiming to be happy all the time. I think in my head, I knew that it's impossible to be 100% happy all the time, but I thought that there would be things that I could do that would make me mostly happy. And I guess I don't know what makes me happy, which is an interesting thing to realize at 33. Because I think there are people who know, like, yeah, if I lived here and did this, I'd be happy. And I don't. I don't. I wish I did. I don't know if I get bored, if that's an issue, or who knows? Maybe there's some type of people who just, you got to do something new every few months. And I know there are people like that, but it's also, as much as I do like new surroundings and new things, I also like being comfortable, and I also like in my head, the idea of doing something new every 3-6 months means that it's impossible to build anything. It's impossible to build a career. It's impossible to build friendships in a area. When I would get upset, my escape was I would watch videos on YouTube about being a truck driver. And my plan, this is no joke, my plan, if I couldn't have gotten a job by let's say now, or maybe let's even say July. My birthday's in July. Let's say I hadn't gotten this job at a certain point, and I guess I didn't really have a time. My plan was to go to truck driving school and be an over the road truck driver and just never come home. Not have a rent, not have a house, not have a car, and just do it for as long as I could until I could save up enough to retire. And that was my plan. And I think it's because, and it's what I guess what I'm trying to find the difference between is being comfortable and being happy, because I think I'd be very comfortable being a truck driver in certain aspects. I think it would be very nerve-wracking driving that truck, and the parking I don't think I'd like, but the being alone, the being on the road, that lifestyle, I think I'm suited for, which doesn't mean it's a good thing, because I do tend to lean towards like being alone. It's not great. Like even this bar mitzvah, again, back to this bar mitzvah. My mom was joking with me the other day that I wanted to invite like 10, 15 kids, tops. Just like my actual, and I don't know if I'd call them all friends, but like the kids who I was friendly with when I was 13. And my mom, I'll never forget, I don't know what kids have these days. We had these printed up phone books for the schools. And my mom like took it out and was like, we're inviting everybody. And I had a really fun bar mitzvah. Tons of kids there. And if I left it up to me, even now, if I'm gonna do an invite list to a party, I'm inviting 4 to 5 people, and that's 5 is a stretch, 3 to 4. But I don't know when going against like your or my instincts might be a good idea. It's hard to argue with it. It's hard to argue that it might be a good idea to not follow my instincts, because my instincts have turned out well in some aspects, but in the happiness, and I'm a lot happier now than I have been in a long time. God, living in this, why does snow, is there anything, global warming people, is there anything I can do? Here's my goal for global warming. I would like Massachusetts to never snow again, and to be at least high of the 60s year round. I don't want anyone to drown. I don't want I don't want any animals to go extinct. But how can I best speed up global warming so that there's no more winter? Do we need winter? I don't think we need winter. I just want to warm up this area. So please help, because if this air, and I know I've talked a lot of shit about the weather, about the snow. Massachusetts will always be home. I'll always love Boston. I love the sports teams. I still do love it. But the reason that we're thinking about leaving is just, it's a mixture of everything. It's the weather. It's the taxes. It's how expensive it is to live here. And I think that what the weather is it just, there's going to be shitty things about everywhere. But when it's just so goddamn cold and wet and gray from basically late November through mid-March, roughly, It is just no, for me, for someone who doesn't like to ski or hike or be outdoors, it's a long time to be kind of like, ugh, it's gross. But I don't know, because my instinct tells me to do it, and I think maybe what I'm learning, as much as I never hate all people. It's hard for me to be comfortable approaching others. Like, I I don't like, in my head, I don't expect a surprise party, but I don't like the idea of me saying to someone, "Hey, let's do this, or let's do something for my birthday." That just seems strange to me. That's always seemed like, oh, why? If they liked me, they would plan something for my birthday. But why? Why would they? It's just, I don't know. I don't know where I get these thoughts into my head. I really don't. And I just don't know. I would love to know what makes you happy, how you make these decisions, any tips you might have. I don't, how do you live a happy life? I don't know. And what percentage of happiness am I shooting for? And what's a realistic level of happiness? Is it 60%? Is it 70%? Can I shoot for 75% happy? That would be nice. And then what does happy mean? Because I could be happy, but I could be very happy living here, but not with the weather. Not with snow. Snow sucks. So what does happy mean? Because I just don't know. And I am very happy. But I wanted, seeing that stupid Abercrombie shirt just made me angry. Like, oh, I was trying to be something that I'm not, or just fit in. Maybe I should move to Zimbabwe. I don't know. I don't, and that's the theme of this podcast, is I don't know the right answer. And I would love to know your thoughts, and I would love to know how you could live the happiest life possible, and then what that means to you. Because, I mean, and trust me, I fully understand that compared to a lot of people, my life is perfect. And it's a very minor thing that I'm like, oh, it's cold outside and wet. I understand that. I want to be a little bit selfish, I guess. I don't know, but is it selfish? See, so this is just an intro to my mind. I'm like, so I want to be selfish. Is it selfish to want to live somewhere nice? That I think that would make me happier, but again, this is just the rabbit hole that my brain's been in for a couple weeks. Would I be happier because my family's not there? So that's, I just want to know what makes you happy. So please send me a message, put a comment in the video, or just think about it. I don't know, just even if you don't interact with me at all, think about what makes you happy. If anyone has any tips, flyingjradio@gmail.com. I'd love to hear them. Lee Syatt on Twitter and Instagram. Let me know how you make these types of decisions. Or maybe you all feel like me and don't know how to make these decisions. So yeah, please let me know. And thank you so much for watching and listening to this week's What Was I Thinking? I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. I love you. Have a great week. And here's to being happy. That's all I can say.